And we've also managed to steal, at much risk to members in Forge World, an actual original plastic Land Raider model. And here it is here. This was the original Games Workshop plastic Land Raider kit, and as I say, these are very rare, so if you have one, it might be financially a prudent thing to keep for your pension, because they're probably going to go up in price. This was brought out in 1988.
In my first video this year, I painted up 500 points of Dark Angels, 2 combat squads and a Rhino. But if you watched that video, you might recall that I had intended to start with a Land Raider, but was scuppered by a critical shortage of biostrip. This kit has a special kind of mystique to it. Released in 1988, by the time I arrived in the hobby, it was out of production, but still featured regularly in GW publications. In one particularly memorable battle report, an epic clash between the Space Wolves and the Eldar, A.D. Wood played the malfunction card on it, causing the last cannon to kill the whole crew and spin the tank around. Now, I'm pleased to say that I have managed to source a tub of biostrip from Incon Gaming over in Cheltenham, so it's time to fire up the forges once again and revive the machine spirit of this 38-year-old kit. I used a big old paintbrush to give the Land Raider a thick coat of the stuff, then put it in a Ziploc bag for a few hours to allow the viscous gloop to go to work. I didn't film what happened next, but as you can see, the biostrip did a pretty good job. That didn't stop me going for a second coat, then getting in there with a scalpel to remove paint from those awkward areas. And trust me, there was no shortage of those. I then brought out my files to smooth out those infamous tracks. This isn't actually a mold line, as I had long thought, but where the 2 parts of the track section meet. A line so distinct that it even features in the official GW box art. Under the stress of all of this cleanup, the kit finally started to give way, which suited me just fine, as I could now prepare each component, removing paint, mold lines, and crusty bits of old glue. I've been wanting to build this kit for a long time, and now I had the opportunity to do exactly that. With the hull taking shape once more, I added a banner pole made out of a length of 2mm Tamiya plastic beam. Raiding my bits box, I found a matching heavy bolter from my Rogue Trader plastic Space Orc set and made a pintle mount from wire. The missing door was replaced by measuring up the dimensions on a sheet of plasticard, cutting it out and sticking it in place. Whenever making changes or modifications to older kits, I try to keep them era appropriate. So this stowage box is from the old Rhino kit, and the skull that adorns the banner pole is from a classic plastic skeleton warrior. I had naively thought that I could clean up and paint this tank in a couple of days, like with the Predator, but this phase took 2 whole days on its own. Finally satisfied, it was time to get painting. I primed the model with Chaos Black, keeping the sponse and last cannons separate for now. After half an hour of drying time, I was back at my painting desk, layering on some Vallejo model color black, focusing on the areas that hadn't received an even coat of the primer. My chosen shade of green for this army is dark green from the Vallejo Game Color series, which I applied in 2 coats with a large brush. For the metal areas, like the tracks, heavy bolter, and sponse and las cannons, I used Vallejo gun metal. I chose corn red for a bit of interest on the dozer blades and the las cannon nozzles. That is the technical term. With the base coats complete, I mixed angel green with sick green and highlighted all of the raised panels, nuts, bolts, and edges. To give the vehicle some much-needed depth and shadow, I pin-washed all of the recessed areas non-oil. Then it was the turn of the metal areas, giving them all a liberal shade of Nuln Oil. I felt after this step that the Space Marine Warbox was finally starting to attain a bit more definition and character. With the first wash dry, I applied Agrax Earthshade to the tracks. I like my vehicles clean, but this much gleaming treads is a little bit much. Actually, I do like them gleaming a little bit, so I dry brushed them with gun metal along with the las cannons. I mixed Evil Sun's Scarlet with Corn Red and highlighted the red areas. The visor viewport thing was also painted Corn Red, then washed with Nuln Oil, then highlighted up with Evil Sun's and Wild Rider Red. A bit of stowage on the front was painted Steel Legion Drab and washed with Agrax Earthshade. The supply box I nicked from the Rhino was painted black, then highlighted with Eshin Grey. After uniting the hull with the las cannons once more, I decided to do a few more select highlights with Sick Green, working my way around the model, hitting the sharpest corners as I went. Now to add the Dark Angel insignia. This Land Raider belongs to the 4th Company, and also happens to be the 4th vehicle in the squadron. I set down microset, then applied each transfer, maneuvering them in place, then painted on microsol to give them that painted-on look. After letting it dry overnight, I painted on a thin coat of matte varnish with a large dry brush. As well as a layer of protection, the varnish also removes the glossiness from the transfers. I printed out this banner using Canva featuring one of their skull designs and also a screenshot from an old Dark Angel Dreadnought banner. I painted both sides with varnish to prevent the paper from absorbing the paint, then spent pretty much the whole of Monday morning filling this in, applying lots of patience and many thin coats of paint, and a few more transfers for good measure. Finally happy, I added another layer of varnish to lock it all in. Changing the blade of my scalpel before cutting it all out, I attached them carefully to the 2 banner poles using an old regiment brush and thinned down PVA. I sponged on a little dark brown paint to make the flag look a little battered, and after a few minutes of admiring my handiwork, it was time for the Land Raider to join the rest of the Dark Angel strike force. A huge thank you to Noel for sending me a model that has occupied my hobby bucket list for decades. This was really fun and satisfying to fix up and paint. It won't be long before it hits the table, almost certainly getting blown up in the first turn. Speaking of playing games, it's not long now before Second Heads, a small 2nd edition 40k event I'm running in Bristol for Minisodes patrons. Some folks that can't make the weekend are painting up and sending over Space Marines in their stead to form an Honor Company. Anyway, more about this event and the Honor Company in a future video. Finally, if you're interested in the Dark Angels, I've recently added a podcast where I discuss their background, inspiration, and evolution with a very special guest. As ever, thank you to all of my patrons who keep this channel going. And if you're interested in supporting me and receiving monthly podcasts, early videos, and access to the Discord, you'll find the link below. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and happy hobbying.